Hello everybody, Aaron Bruewer here, Assistant Professor of Education at the University of the District of Columbia, and what I wanted to share with you is an activity that I do with my social studies methods students, most recently with my elementary social studies students who are learning how to integrate digital tools into their classroom to help students communicate, collaborate, critically think, and create. Coming into the course that week, students read a little bit of literature from the book James Loewen, Teaching What Really Happened, as well as 2 articles from Social Studies and the Young Learner. The students are primed to make the connections between the pedagogical approach and the content of their grade level. And there's a specific quote from Loewen that really puts this in perspective. Citizenship happens here in your classroom when you help free your students to be citizens. And so latching on to that, it's important that students develop the ability to do social studies in the classroom. Having students do social studies through local history and oral history means that they are not just receiving information, but instead they are responsible for participating in civics. They are creating and applying geographic skills. They're making history as opposed to just receiving what already exists as a grand narrative. They get to critique the narrative, they get to participate in actually making something as opposed to just listening. And so teachers are encouraged to tap into their local community resources, families, community leaders, organizations, locations, finding those resources that can come into the classroom, utilizing that unique set of community-based resources and knowledge that students are around every day. How does a community explain immigration, perceive indigenous populations, have self-knowledge of the long civil rights movement? What is the geography of field trips, statues, redlining, and other historical markers? Getting outside of the classroom is important, and this is where digital tools can help provide those opportunities. And that is where I use the program Flip. So this is the Social Studies Methods Flip page that I maintain, and this is the assignment that I give the students called History in Your Own Backyard. And I task the students through the week to identify important parts of their community, individuals, statues, historical markers, and report back on that to the class so that we can discuss the potential that Flip has in allowing us to engage in local history. You'll see attention to statues down on the National Mall, students taking trips, or going to their local library, which is a significant part of the community's history and is connected to the larger national history as well. Of course, there are historical markers and walks all through the local communities, which you see from both students here. The study of architecture and the story that architecture tells inside of a community, the way a community has evolved and grown and adapted or been affected by change. So the idea of the use of Flip as the digital tool for this type of a project or this type of a pedagogical approach is rooted in the idea that we start with the content, the social studies disciplines. That's geography, it's economics, it's civics, it's history. And then from within that, we think of the pedagogy that we would utilize to teach that discipline, that content. And the pedagogical approach here is local history or oral history. And then we can consider the digital tools that we might use to collect that local history or engage in making that local history. And that's where I settled on the use of Flip, because Flip can go out into the community, they could conduct interviews, they can record one-on-ones, they can record themselves with statues or at local sites or at historical markers. All of that can be done and recorded and collected within Flip. They then bring that back to the classroom where we can have a conversation and we can talk about how we locally connect with the larger national, regional, national historical narrative or the geographic landscape or the civics participation that we can engage out there in the classroom at the same time. Following one of the tech pillars, which is modeling, I modeled the use of the technology in the classroom as a pedagogical approach. I wanted them to go into the neighborhoods. I wanted them to find that relevant local history. I wanted them to then share that with their peers through the use of Flipgrid so that we could have a conversation about where might they use this in their own approach to the teaching and learning of elementary social studies. This is followed up by a dive into the standards where they identify opportunities for this technology to emerge from within the pedagogical approach. Following this conversation, I share an example of one opportunity to help kind of spark their interest. I share this assignment with them. It's a potential assignment for the elementary classroom. Statues come down, but what's next? Having elementary students interview local organizations, people, community members, parents, guardians, about who they believe or what they believe should be commemorated to replace the statues that are coming down. And so FLIP is one way to collect information, collect data, bring it into the classroom, and then the next step is to do something with that information, the knowledge that they've collected. They should build something with. They should create history. They should construct understandings and then express those understandings through the use of digital tools, which I'll talk about in the next column. Questions? I would love to hear from you. Please reach out via email or give me a call on the telephone. I would love to talk to you. Thank you.